Well, today's Rosalynn Carter's 99th birthday, and it's really got me thinking about what we're going to do for the centennial. I kept telling myself, oh, I'm going to write a whole book, release it, each video will be a chapter, but honestly, I don't really think it's something that people want to see. I do draw her pretty regularly, so that is something I could parlay into having more frequent uploads. And I definitely want to make at least one musical video tribute to her, with different pictures and videos of her and like a nice little collage. But it's been so wild to think about, like having all these different ideas centering around somebody and just never feeling like you can consolidate it into one singular thing, right? Like if I say tomorrow, I'm going to make reviews of all five of her books. That's something I could feasibly do. I own two of them, her memoir and the book she wrote with her husband, but I would still kind of be reluctant to do that because then I have to write a script and then edit it. And again, a lot of this stuff, it's just harder to do when you're just trying to piece everything together. I will say, I have considered also using her as a backdrop for a lot of the mental health discussion because that is her legacy, right? Bringing awareness of mental health. And as someone who has had their own issues with just being frustrated over various things, I'm not going to get into it here because it's not what this is about. Um, you could see potentially, I'm not saying I will do this, but some stuff relating to just, oh, here's this one person that got really depressed. Here's this one person that, did whatever. And just, again, all of it ties back into her and what she was in favor of bringing awareness to. I think that's a fitting tribute. I don't know. The problem with trying to make like material on any part of her life that is before the presidency and then the post presidency is that a lot of the supporting players are not as well defined as her and her husband. So, for example, if I made a book that was like a fictitious recounting of, Jimmy Carter's governorship, right? I would make sure, of course, to include the core points, right? The stuff that actually happened while he was governor, the highlights. And it would be easy to do that with still having it mostly be about her or mostly from her perspective because I'd be able to confer with biographers and historians and news articles on what was going on at that time. But if you're talking about, writing something that has, makes her mom or her siblings the lead characters or focal points, it's a lot harder because there's just not that much information on the rest of them. Like, I read through Rosalynn's memoir earlier this year, and after the first, I think, two or three chapters, she really does not bring up her mother or her siblings at all. And again, that's so frustrating because if you want to highlight, because I look at it like this: the most important people to Rosalynn, besides her husband and her children, were her siblings and her parents. And because they were important to her, they're important to me. But that's what makes it all the more frustrating when you want to make stuff highlighting these very significant people to her, and there's almost no material to kind of clarify what those relationships were like. But that is a thing I have noticed with a lot of just autobiographies and even with some biographies as well, that they don't really go into the more important relationships that a person will have over the course of their life. Like even their own parents will just stop getting mentioned after the first maybe like 20 or 30 pages. And it's weird because they're such a fixture of that person's life that to not talk about them to me always is just really weird. But I definitely am committed to making at least a musical video tribute to her. I already picked out a song. I started on it about a year ago, and I just kind of didn't really care to finish it. I have that problem with a lot of stuff, just procrastinating and assigning way too many different goals and ambitions to myself, and just never getting around to certain stuff. And I don't, when I admit that, of course, I am admitting I'm trying to not continue that pattern, but just an acknowledgement that in attempting to correct that, I don't want to commit to things that I can't guarantee that I'll do, because then I'll disappoint whoever might actually look forward to those things and myself as well. Because I like to actually tell the truth.